Hello and welcome. This is Angela. Today I'm doing part 4 of a 4-part series. So today I'm looking at, hi Joseph, today I'm looking at what is intuition and how do you know when you're getting the right message. So often when we're working with our inner voice, we're trying to get it right. So I'm going to, today my intent for this video is to throw out a few concepts that might be interfering with your inner voice. And the biggest one in my experience working with intuition is having to get it right. Listening to your inner voice, I've done 4 parts to this series. The first one I looked at physical experiences in your life or feeling stuck, not being able to move. The second video, I looked at that inner voice that has emotions or powerful emotions, sometimes negative, and how they can connect to hurts from the past. And when they are connected to hurts, how that inner voice can often be quite cluttered or emotional. The third video looked at thoughts. And those thoughts are often stories that come from hurts. There are also thoughts that may not come from hurts, but come from conditioning in society. So I didn't go too deep into conditioning. So today I'm going to look at how to begin some baby steps, or just 1 or 2 baby steps basically, on how to discern the difference between what's your actual intuition from your higher self. So let me just specify, when we're talking about intuition, it's connecting to your higher self or soul. So higher self and soul are not the same thing. If you want to know more about the distinctions between the higher self and soul, you can join my other group, which is called Golden Age Questions. And I do a monthly talk related to awakening and Diksha and what is our goal for awakening, because some people experience awakening and they don't actually look at what's their intent or goal for awakening. So I have another group specifically that's focused on awakening, and I go deeper into the difference between the higher self and the soul, the relationship between the higher self and the soul, and the distinction between them. So today I'm going to talk generally about the difference of the higher self and soul as it operates through your inner voice, and how to understand when your filters of the physical body or your perceptions of the physical body, because the physical body is actually a vehicle for understanding your soul, and the filters of your emotions and your mental body or your thoughts, how they interfere with you connecting to the inner voice from your higher self and the soul. And if you're joining live and you have any questions about anything about the intuition and developing it, understanding how to listen to your intuition, please put that in the chat. I'm developing a training, so I'm looking for feedback on people about what they're looking to develop and grow in terms of self-awareness and intuition development. So intuition has been often not really explained very clearly. I used to work with tarot, and I have worked with pendulum. I've worked with intuitive guessing and working with pendulums, using intuitive systems such as a body talk, kinesiology. And the simple way to drop into your intuition is to just connect to the heart in whatever manner you can do that on a regular basis. And the other videos, I've given you some tools about how to connect to your heart. And in all the work I do with meditations, that's what I practice, that's what I share. I have some videos on YouTube, many videos with meditations on heart connection. So when you want to connect to your intuition, the first thing to do is to connect to the heart. And sometimes, as I looked at the video on listening to your inner voice and channeling your emotions positively, sometimes you need to clear your body field or seal your body field to listen effectively to your heart. Often when I'm teaching meditation, people talk about the monkey mind. They also talk about being very distracted, not being able to focus. So the first step can often be, when you're attempting to connect to your heart, is to become aware of your actually your body field, the field of energy around your body. And this is pretty amorphous. People don't know what that is. But if you look at the website heartmath.org, that's one of the research fields that are being developed right now to measure the heart's electromagnetic field. So they're actually measuring it, and they work with kids, and they see when kids are talked to negatively or have thoughts that are negative, how does that affect the body field? So they do some measurements that are quite exciting to show you physical evidence. For others of you, you may just also notice your body field when you do yoga, if you do any qigong exercise, if you warm up and stretch, any physical activity, that's you connecting to your field there. In dance, we call it the kinesphere, or the 360-degree sphere of potential movement of your body. So that's a physical definition of your energy field. But we're not just physical, we're spiritual beings. So when we work with meditation or any intuition, you're tapping into something beyond the physical. That's a very important thing to understand, because that will help you perhaps to get out of getting it right. When we listen to our inner voice, it's not about right or wrong, and it's not about, I got it, I got the answer, and you'll have that answer for the rest of your life. You wouldn't be here on earth to have a whole lifespan if you weren't to develop a long-term relationship with your intuition that grows and grows and changes. So first step, baby step, but huge baby step, is to connect to your heart, to listen to your intuition, go beyond the filters of the emotions and the minds, and to get clarity, as we looked at channeling your emotions in a positive direction. Seal your field, seal your aura. When I used to do tarot work, I worked in some really odd situations. I had some gigs at Universal Studios because of Melanie Lajoie from A Magi Belly Dance Entertainment. And of course, Melanie would only do it with her style and flair. So we used to get dressed up in costume. And I had started doing extensive tarot readings, but I did not know what was the difference between intuition and picking up energy from people. So a good psychic, they'll be able to read things about you just very quickly. They're picking up things from your personality. And we had speed tarot readings. So I had to do 3-card spreads with people, and we had lines of people. So I'd have to do like a 3-minute reading, 5-minute reading, and just one after the other. And because I did speed reading, I realized that the stuff that was coming out of me half the time, I didn't know where it was coming from. And that's often what I notice with people when they start working with their intuition. They sit, they might ask a question, or they might do tarot, or they might use pendulum or whatever modality you use, and you just don't know where the information's coming from. So when I was doing the tarot reads, what happened was sometimes the client in front of me would cry. I had one session of readings that was quite potent one night, and then the next one had another emotional breakthrough. And I thought, okay, what am I doing here? That's different, because stuff was coming out of my mouth that time, but it was connecting to their soul and their heart in a manner that wasn't just picking up vibes from their emotions and thoughts. So any psychic can pick up stuff from your aura, which has your emotions and your thoughts in it. We're constantly creating emotions and thoughts, even when we're sleeping, unfortunately. When we're sleeping, we're trying to process them. But during the day, we can be going over some of the things that are not resolved in our dreams. So when you go to a reader, have a look. How are they impacting you? Are they making you more anxious in your thoughts? Making you more anxiety-based? Or are they actually communicating to you in a way that penetrates your heart, that makes you think, oh, I didn't see it that way? Because that's accessing your soul. Not necessarily your higher self, but it's accessing some deeper part in your heart. So after I was making, and one of the clients that I made cry to was a really tough person, older person. I thought, oh my God, they're not going to get this. Why are they coming to a reading? I hope they don't. I don't know why I'm saying this to them. And it was coming out of my mouth. And then when I saw, you're really good, I got that good feedback from her. And then she told me why what I said was accurate. I realized I had no idea how I knew what I was saying, but it was my higher self channeling the information. So I had a long journey with the tarot to understand that. It wasn't immediate, but it was so important. So I invite you, as you're developing your intuition and relationship with your soul and higher self, to get to that aspect of your inner voice, to really give yourself time and forget about getting it wrong or right. Because the best thing for me when I was doing the readings was being able to help that person acknowledge a part of their soul and connect to it, and perhaps honour themselves in a manner that they hadn't, especially for that client who was an older woman who was quite tough to me, and she'd gone through a quite tough experience. So I was honoured to be able to connect to her at that level, to help her soul just acknowledge itself in that moment. So for yourself, if you're trying to get definite clarity on your inner voice and, hi Colleen, and your development of self, one of the first things to start following in your path is when, I'm going to give you a couple of pointers. So your higher self, the first thing, connect to heart, seal your aura, because that will start to channel positive emotions positively. Now, what happens when we start to go into connection with our intuition? Our minds can get busy. And I said in the first video with our physical body, what are the activities we do in life to either escape our inner voice, deny it, avoid it? We might use our mind to override it. And we also might go into emotions like depression. We might have certain behaviours of trying to be busy or trying to do a lot. I have a very old habit. It's a dying habit, but it's still taking a process of dying, of doing. And that's my first clue to know that I'm in a physical behaviour to avoid my inner voice. I'm pushing myself. And when I was growing up, I had a chronic fatigue because I was in a band and doing shows and staying up all night partying and trying to have a job and meeting people and having a great time, but I had burnout. I was a doer and I loved it. So why would I stop? But what was shown to me at the chronic fatigue point was that I was actually not listening to who I was at the spiritual and the soul level. And I didn't have a strong self-esteem. So I was like, well, why would I need to listen to that? I thought, I had a belief that I would get more value from doing. I could find value from doing. If people would like me, if I was performing and dancing and doing things to make them like me. So we often get behaviours, that my physical behaviour was do. The emotion was that I wasn't enough, or I felt unacceptable, or I felt unwanted. Unwanted was probably like, let me get to the emotion of unwanted. Unattractive, just not really desirable, basically. I don't know what the emotion is. I guess it was a lot of emotions, but the actual belief was that I was, from the emotion, the hurt of rejection, I'd made a belief that I was undesirable. So the habit was do. The emotion was I was undesirable because of hurts. So the belief was, if I do more, I'll get value, and that I don't have value just by being who I was. So the thoughts then started, I'm not enough because, I'm not like that person because. So I looked in the other video, when you listen to your inner voice, those emotions as beliefs and the thoughts, the criticisms can come up. So your higher self, you will never be negative of you. It will never be negative. So the key is you're listening to your intuition. Even if you're doing readings for others, please watch this, because if you're critical of other people when you're doing readings, you have to ask, is that really helping the other person? If you're warning them about certain behaviours and the consequences, there's a language and there's an intent. So start with your intent if you're reading for others. What's your intent? Hopefully it's to help people, but also to help them see what, or help them understand what. Clarify your intent in terms of helping others. If it's just to be a good psychic, nobody cares. There's thousands of psychics in the world now. There's plenty of good ones. So if you're just trying to show off, don't do readings for people. So when you are looking at your own inner voice for your own self-development, if the emotions come up or some beliefs come up or criticism is present, they are not your higher self. There are higher emotions that are aspects of the higher self, but they're pretty simple. And I can name them in like, how many words? 3 words. Joy. I don't want to use the word beauty because that's got a human aspect. It's sort of hard to put into words. Peace. And it's hard to find the word for it, but it's joy, peace, and perhaps harmony would be the aspect of the divine. So harmony can be found in beauty. It can also be found in like when you have an awe-inspiring experience, but so can also peace be found that, and joy. It's a joy that's of a sublime level. So those aspirational emotions, if you've ever done any connection to the divine or connection to something beautiful or bigger than yourself or awe-inspiring, or if you've watched a movie and you felt something really profound, that's the qualities of the higher self. All the other emotions is just humanity making up stuff that we've developed along the way. And they are important to see when you're listening to your own inner voice. So your higher self will always use those parts of you, the filters of the emotions and the thoughts, to help you get clearer on what you can manage and develop. I'm avoiding language such as work on, because I think in the new age or the new era that we're moving into, we're not trying to fix anymore. So we've got to come up with words that we're managing our emotions, or as I said, channeling our emotions positively. We're making thoughts our friend, and we're developing aspects of ourselves to become more of our true selves, our higher selves, and our soul. So the main thing to experience with that higher self, if you're developing that inner voice, is that it won't come to you through complex thoughts, sentences, or big stories. It's going to be really simple, and it'll be repetitive as well. I've been working with the aspect of my intuition over the last, I can't remember how long it is. It feels like an eternity, but I'll say in this life about 3 years. And the word healing or heal comes to me almost daily. So it's quite frustrating, I'll be honest, because I'm working on this aspect, and as I connect to my higher self, the one consistent peace that's given to me is still given to me. And it's because I am exploring what that is, healing, in how I be in the world, in how I bring it to making connections throughout the day. Maybe it could be connecting to the neighbours, could be connecting to the environment, could be connecting to the way I make breakfast. So healing or heal has been the same thing given to me by my higher self and soul for a very extensive period of time. 3 years is not much in terms of time, in terms of spirit, but in terms of human time, it can be perceived as a long time. And I have some other exercises where I can develop other aspects to bring understanding to what is healing or heal for me as I develop that connection to my inner voice. However, the years before the last 3 years, when I was coming to that awareness about the higher self and how it operates through me or how it works with me, because the higher self is myself, but it's an aspect of my spiritual self that is all-knowing, and it sees where I need to develop, and it loves me immensely. So it doesn't have any lack of self-love, the higher self. But my emotional body does, and my mental thoughts have created some criticisms. So my higher self is constantly operating to help me see and understand where in my emotional habits or beliefs, or in my mental habits or thoughts or criticisms, where am I holding an aspect that needs to have healing? So it's pretty crazy, right? My higher self is just saying heal. And as a journey, to see the emotions and thoughts that may need some healing without making anything wrong, but creating a nurturing space for that. And of course, a lot of the healing that has worked for me, which is different for each human being, but specifically for me, a nurturance has been huge to move the emotions positively, or to allow the body to discover its power and beauty and self-acceptance in the body. Nurturance has been the foundation of a lot of the healing of self-acceptance that I've done on myself and created for others. So that's what I would like to share about the way to start working with the higher self. If you're looking for more awareness on the difference between higher self and soul, I do have a Facebook group. It's a closed group because we do some meditations in it, and it's called Golden Age Questions. And I do share Diksha in that, which Diksha is a special energy to empower you to awaken to your higher self. And I also go into more layers around the distinction between the soul and the higher self, because the soul is an aspect of the higher self, if we can call it that. It's actually a vehicle for the higher self. It's not really an aspect of the higher self. It's a vehicle for the higher self to work with the physical body when we're here. And it also works when we're not here, when we're disincarnate. And that soul is a storehouse for all of the lives that you've experienced. So it's a wonderful resource to connect to perhaps profound learnings that you're coming to be liberated from, to be also empowered by. So there are so many gifts in your soul. And a classic thing when we listen to our inner voice, we have a habit of perhaps hearing the negative stuff. And the soul, while it may carry some negative imprints, it has so much potency and so much resources because it's carried so much wisdom from other lives. So the other thing to start exploring with your higher self and soul is to, and this is what I'll leave you today as an exercise to explore with the higher self and the soul, is to work with meditation, connect to your heart, seal your aura, and to ask to sit with your higher self and ask to be shown your gifts. Please help me to see or show me my gifts. Because so many of us, when we're stuck in our emotional past or hurts or beliefs that are based on a limited self, or we've created thoughts about conditions of how we should be and expectations of how life should be, or the world should be, or our parents should be. When we're stuck in those, it's very easy to get into habits of seeing limitations of self and others. And we just ignore this powerhouse that's in our soul, in our heart. We ignore it. It's sitting there. It's like this vast base of wisdom inside of you, and you're wasting time, or you're wasting energy, emotional energy, focusing on what's not feeling great. So a lot of what meditation can do, or developing your connection to your inner voice can do, is actually empower you with that vast resource in the soul. And most of us ignore it. As I mentioned, we develop physical behaviours. Mine was do, busy, perform, make people like me, hope they like me, I'm not enough. And I get on that wheel. Instead, if I sit and feel, immediately powerful aspirational emotions are given to me to be with. And they're pretty, how do I describe them? Immense. I won't say limitless, because I think that's being used a lot in a context that doesn't quite capture the enormity of self-acceptance and self-love available to you from your own soul, because it's had so much experience of life and of the universe. Your soul has your gifts. Your soul has your ability to experience life within it. this body is just one blip in time, the soul is not. So you're sitting on the inner voice has this ability to access for you so much potency. And when you sit in meditation, connect to heart, seal your aura, please ask your higher self to connect to your higher self and please show me my gifts. You begin to practice. You can do that over several, like a 30-day period every day, and then watch what happens during the day. You may not get a voice from God telling you what your gifts are. You may actually get a word, like I have had healing for several years, and you might get it for 30 days if you did it every day, which I did, and I still get it. And the only reason that you may be getting it, it's not that you don't understand or you don't see, it's not that you're doing something wrong, it's not that you don't have something missing, is that there's an aspect to be developed, and your higher self is pretty excited that you're sitting in meditation, connecting to your soul, that it's going, yeah, do this is your gift, yeah, take more, eat more, have more of yourself, because this is your worth and this is how wonderful you are. And that's the beauty of listening to the inner voice. So that's where I'm going to leave the video today. Please put any more comments, feedbacks, interests in intuition development that you want to develop. Listening to your inner gifts, if that's some exercises that you would like to have. And I am looking for feedback, questions, insights on what people would love to learn about listening to the intuition and how to use that for self-growth. If you are interested more in awakening, I also have a closed group because we do meditations in there. And I do once a month of teaching around awakening and the golden age. And that group is in the description here on Facebook, and I'll put that link in the description elsewhere. So it's the Facebook group is called Golden Age Questions, and we do Diksha in that group as well if you're connected to Diksha or interested in Diksha. So thanks for joining. Have a beautiful time connecting to your gifts, and I look forward to hearing from you.